So this is a great opportunity for you to think about what is it that drives you? What are you passionate about? What is it that gives you joy? And hopefully with the prompts throughout the book, it will help guide you to your next step. Maybe it isn't that next high powered job. Maybe it's to start that nonprofit that you've been thinking about for years. Maybe your passion was helping homeless animals. Maybe it's volunteering and becoming a part of the board of the ASPCA. This is the opportunity for you to give yourself a little mental space and also physical space for you to reevaluate what your values are and what you want next. And hopefully with this book, it can be your companion in helping you for that next step.
Welcome to the Go Slow to Go Fast Lifestyle Podcast, where we trade burnout for balance, hustle for harmony, and learn to live with intention, one slow breath at a time. I'm your host, Kendra Chapman, and I'm here every week to invite you in for a cup of something warm, settle into a cozy spot, and take a few intentional moments together to recharge and refocus. Today feels extra special because I'm reconnecting with a college friend, Cynthia Gutierrez-White, and our conversation has the comfort and honesty of a true heart-to-heart. In today's fast-paced world, nothing throws off your balance quite like a career change. With AI disruption, the market constantly shifting, and stories of job loss across the U.S., feeling lost may be more common and more intense than ever before. But what if that moment of uncertainty was actually an invitation to pause, redefine your path, and discover a deeper, more resilient sense of purpose? Cynthia has distilled her personal journey through these challenges into a powerful new book, Redefine: Finding Purpose and Power After Job Loss Amid AI Disruption and Market Uncertainty. We dive into the essential role of human connection, why living with purpose is non-negotiable, and the crucial need for adaptability in this new landscape. If you're looking for strength and strategy to turn a professional setback into a meaningful comeback, stick around. This conversation is for you. Thank you for coming and agreeing to sit down with me, Cynthia. And I'm just so glad that you're here with us today.
What an absolute pleasure, Kendra. And yes, I have to tell you, it was so nice just to not only hear a familiar voice, but to see a familiar face and just to recap on all the things that we've done in the past, I don't know, X amount of decades. And what an absolute pleasure to just be with you and to have this time to chat and to bring others along our journeys.
Yes, absolutely. And we're going to get into Cynthia's background and her story and the new book. But before we get into all that, I just want to ask, what are you doing these days to go slow to go fast?
What I am doing these days is I am living with more purpose. Where before, when I was employed, so I used to work for an agency outside of DC, which handles mostly disaster and emergency management. So you can imagine we do not go slow very often. We're constantly going fast. And since being laid off, I made the concerted effort and made the decision that there's more to life than this craziness of finding your next job. Not to diminish the importance of having a job. Hello, we all have bills to pay. We got to keep a roof over our head. But just a nice reminder that there's so much more to life than that. So living with purpose, spending more time doing the things that I love, and carving that time every day to network, to interview, to talk to people, to go on job boards, to apply. But it's just the realization that there's so much more than that. And that has been very grounding and has given me clarity and has even given me a nice recharge of joy.
And I love that you say that because purpose and joy has definitely been a focus, I think, for several of our listeners and
Mhm.
viewers out there in the last couple of years. I think once
Yeah.
we realize if we can incorporate that into our at least everyday kind of thought
Mhm.
process, I think the more we get out of life. So I'm excited to hear
Absolutely.
that you're focusing on that too. So if you can walk our listeners and viewers through just a little bit about you, your background, and then we can kind of get into how you started writing this book.
Absolutely. I am from South Florida, born and raised. I am a child of immigrants. So I'm a first generation Latina professional here in the United States. And I've had a very good childhood. And I got to meet you for the sake of our listeners and our viewers. I got to meet Kendra at Appalachian State University. Go Mountaineers! And we found ourselves being more than friends. We're actually sisters of the same sorority. And just how life has it, after graduation, most people, we all go in our separate directions, just following our own paths of finding happiness in working on a career or building families or whatever it is that brings you joy. And for me, I dove right into communication. So that's something that I studied while I was at App State. And it's one of the things that I continue doing. So I wasn't one of those graduates, and nothing wrong with this, that it's like, I studied, I don't know, anthropology and I work at da 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 place. So no, I love communications from when we were in school to even today. It's something, I think it's more of a vocation than anything else for me. And my career has really taken me to some really incredible places. I had the opportunity of working for some very top-notch, reputable national organizations that have really opened the doors in my eyes to the experiences of many, many people, and most of them during very difficult times of their lives, whether it's the illness of a loved one or an illness that they themselves are going through, or in the case of emergency management, losing everything due to a natural disaster, or seeing someone who has benefited from cutting edge research that has extended their lives. So to be a witness to those stories and to walk with people in their journey, however short it may be, however short or long, has been an incredible privilege for me. And got married, have two fantastic kids. I got a small zoo. We got parrots, a cat, an 18-year-old Chihuahua. We recently rescued a husky from a local shelter, and it's chaos, it's craziness, but I wouldn't have it any other way, and I love it.
I love that you are just so busy and that you've taken a moment just to sit down and kind of share where you are right now with our listeners and viewers. And knowing that we haven't crossed paths in such a long
Long
time, and
time.
again, we're not really going to disclose all those years, but you've been so busy in the PR world
Mhm.
and just working with lots of people on different levels. And now you're seeing that there is another reason why you need to get a message out. And it's really about what's going on right now these days in the job market.
Absolutely. For me, I've always been a storyteller. At the time, I never saw myself as a storyteller. I was a spokesperson. I was a writer. I was someone who handled VIP visits. I was one who brought stories of others to the media, sharing it with the world. But just to call myself a storyteller, I'd be like, yeah, that's maybe one of many things that I do. But these days, I really kind of embraced that title and becoming a storyteller. And with being having my job being a casualty of a reduction of labor earlier this year, actually in January of 2025, I found myself in a position where I was relearning what the job market was like. It's been such a long time since I've had to really put in the sweat equity to find a job. And it has been very humbling. And I have learned many neat things talking to incredible people. And I said to myself, I'm not going to gatekeep this information. There's a lot of people hurting right now, people who've been affected by economic volatility like me, AI. And I know we'll take a little deeper dive into AI, but also a lot of the policy and federal changes that are happening right now. And you have to keep in
Mhm.
mind, I live in the DMV. So the DMV for us is the DC, Maryland, Virginia areas. Seeing a lot of the furloughs and layoffs have really impacted us here in our community. And that's something that really impacted me. And one of the reasons why I wrote this book.
Yeah, and having lived in that same area for a
Mhm.
good
That's right.
at least 15 years, I can totally understand that it's all around you. You can't ignore
Yes.
it. It's going to be the people that you see in the grocery store, the people that you see at the gas station, wherever you go about your day, you're going to run
Mhm.
into somebody. You're going to know somebody who's affected by this personally.
Well, what really blew my mind, Kendra, was that I want to say about 3 weeks after being laid off myself, I started counting the people that I personally knew. And it's not just people like my friend's cousin. I'm talking people that I personally know of. And within 3 weeks, I went up to 60 people, talented, dedicated professionals, just top notch of, with what they do, currently out of a job, but this is within 3 weeks. And I just said to myself, this is a interesting moment in time right now. This is unlike anything I have seen in my lifetime, maybe in my parents' lifetime. I don't know. But for us, for people of our generation, other than COVID, I think this is a very peculiar moment in time in how people are adjusting to a new and rapidly moving job market.
So you are doing your best to keep up with the pace of how this is moving and changing. I was thinking, I experienced a similar process of having everything frozen in your workplace and budgets going into shutdown and the military going into shutdown and people not working for a period of time because they were all government. I want to get into like how this is different than
This
that
is different. Absolutely.
because everybody's on shutdown. So where do you want to dive in?
Well, I wouldn't mind starting from the beginning. So from what happened to me with the understanding that I'm sharing this because I want people to know that this isn't just happening to you, it's happening to so many people. And it's
Mhm.
important not to feel isolated and not to feel alone. And that this is a great opportunity to build community and to build each other up. Because it's very easy to slip into isolation and to
Mhm.
be so incredibly focused. And this is what happened to me. I am very open in telling people I would focus 8 to 10 hours a day applying to jobs, talking to people, going to job boards. And anyone who's gone through this, just filling out one application is very time consuming. And regardless if you upload your resume, they still want you to manually put in all the places that you worked, put in your job title, the address, the phone number. And it's just so daunting and it is exhausting. And that's where I found myself just a couple of days after being laid off. So I'm finding myself in this situation that, like many of us, we did not ask ourselves to be brought into, where it seems like as if the rug was pulled out from under us. And we're all trying
Mhm.
to find our balance again and trying to make sense of the things that are happening around us. And, spending 8 to 10 hours a day, on Indeed, LinkedIn, Monster, Glassdoor, take your pick. I've probably been there. I probably have an account there. I probably talked to I don't know how many recruiters from those different platforms. And it is exhausting. And unless you take time for yourselves to heal yourself, to find your purpose, to find your joy, you will burn out. And that's what happened to me. It was also in realizing, to your point, that this is unlike other times, I think, in the job market, in realizing that what my husband say, the old playbook doesn't really work anymore. And it's relearning, like we talked about before. I don't want to gatekeep this stuff. There's a lot of people hurting. Okay. I am so happy and willing to share what I've learned. This is where this book came from. But it's just the more people we can put back into the job market, the more stability I think as a community that we will feel. But that's the beginning. It's trying from me trying to understand what happened, trying to come to the mindset, to the decision that this is different in the skill sets of finding the job. The playbook does not work anymore. You might as well just throw it out the window. And we can talk about what it is that has changed so much. That became journal entries for me. Because when I go through moments of frustration, and I don't mean just a little frustration, like, oh, my appointment got pushed out a couple hours. I mean, true frustration where clarity really brings some semblance of control. I journal, I write a lot. And I found myself doing that, my own experiences, the way that I felt when I was getting notices from my colleagues that they too were laid off, or they just heard that I was laid off. And as you mentioned, it's a roller coaster. It really is. It's an emotional roller coaster. So I started journaling the things that I've been learning in my own experiences. And then I remember walking to the kitchen one day and my husband was there and I just told him, I'm done. Like I'm fed up. I have sent I don't know how many resumes. I've gotten one callback. I said, what is that? Not to say that I am like, the best thing around. But in past years, my experience has been for every 10 resumes, I would get at least four callbacks. Like for me to send 60, 70 resumes to only have one callback, I said to myself, okay, this is a systemic issue. And in journaling and talking to people is where I found clarity. And that's where the book came to be.
And I, I'm sitting here, if you're listening and you're not on YouTube, I'm nodding in agreement with everything Cynthia's saying because I too have been frustrated and after
Mhm.
hours on the computer going through my resume, and I had like 30 different versions of my resume
30?
and
I know,
only
it's like
30,
so
I know.
funny.
And it's so frustrating when you do all that and then make it personal and look at the
Yes,
job description and then they still want you to hand enter everything. So anybody's going to get frustrated when they go online and
absolutely.
try to apply for all these jobs. So that's your mindset of this is not what my experience has been in the
Yes,
past. And you have
absolutely,
had multiple positions, which many of us have, because we've
absolutely.
gone from one thing to the next. Either we're up leveling or we're being called to a different type of work.
Mhm,
So we've
mhm,
experienced these changes recently, but this is
mhm.
different. So,
Right.
yeah, talk us through that mindset of like after you hit that low, what did your husband say?
Well, he basically said, and I'm gonna preface this by saying he was not being harsh at all. He was being honest. That at that moment, that is what I needed because I was lost and thinking that what am I doing wrong? Is the resume not right enough? It doesn't have the right keywords. Am I using a wrong term in the cover letter? You literally start questioning everything that you're doing. And I remember going in the kitchen, and you'll see with this book, there's a lot of conversations in the kitchen. That is the heart of our home. And I just said to him, I'm done. And he also mentioned, I notice you're not home very often on some days. And that really made me think like, oh my gosh, he's right. And with some reflection, I realized that when I'm not on the computer, I am giving myself a mental break and stepping away from the house because I worked remotely. So my house was my office. My office was my home. And to see that empty room of what was my office is the constant reminder of you don't have a job, you don't have a title, once your severance is up, you don't have any money coming in. And the job market stinks at this moment. So having that constant reminder and just being burnt out sending resumes, I saw him in the kitchen and he says, I noticed that you haven't been home very often. And what's going on? Like, how can I help you? So I told him everything that I just told you, Kendra. And he was, again, very honest. He says, stop what you're doing. What you're doing is not working. You are frustrating yourself. You are being hard on yourself. You have to realize that the job market is not what you're used to. It is terrible. It says the bots are not letting you in, and you need to take a step back and reach out to people. That's literally what he said as he's pouring himself a cup of coffee. And I followed up with several questions like, how do I do this? Do I text? Do I email? Who should I reach out to? So we talked through it. And so let me take a step back. He's an engineer. So he is trained to identify problems and solve them. This is what he does. He was an aerospace engineer, mechanical engineer, and then a biomedical engineer. So this is ingrained in every fiber of his being. And he just says, stop what you're doing, not working, reach out to people. So I did that. I went to some of my contacts on LinkedIn. I reached out. And within 24 hours, I heard back from 90% of those people. And I
Oh,
started
good.
conversations like, what do you see in your field? Do you see still a need for people with my skill sets? I was even asking them, is this a moment of time that I need to consider shifting into a totally different field? Because at that moment, I didn't know, I was spinning. I didn't know where to go. So, should I remain in communications? What have you seen in your field and in your line of work? How do you see AI impacting what you're doing? What courses should I be taking so that I will keep my skills up to date and be more marketable in the eyes of recruiters and HR managers? So those were the conversations that we were having. And more people wrote back. And that then led to conversations, which it could be over Zoom like this or over coffee. So I started reconnecting with people that have always supported me or worked with me, or we've always had a nice relationship. And that's when, to your point, I started taking it slow. I started making time reconnecting with people with connections, people that had insight as to what the federal impact has been, people who have insight as to how AI is impacting their field, people who have insight as to what the degree of economic volatility is in their field and in their line of work. And that's when I started learning more and more and more. And I started journaling more and writing it down and writing it down. And a couple of weeks have passed. And then, I have all these papers and notebooks and pen and pencil and written, I don't know, maybe even marker at this point. And my husband said, you should consider writing a book. And I never really thought of it. I'm like, well, you know what? I was thinking about doing a blog, maybe on LinkedIn, so that people can see that they are not alone. Finding a job these days is hard. It is hard. Admit it. Let that wash over you. It is not you. This is a systemic problem. And here's why. And he goes, I turned around and went into the living room. 2 hours later, it's like I wrote chapter 1. And that's just how it just came to be. And then funny, my daughter was home from college and I'm like, I'm writing a book. She's like, yeah, that's great. That's great. I don't know what she had in mind, but I'm like, no, really, I think I'm really going to write this book. Here's chapter 1. I let her see it. She read it. She's in college. She's in Ohio. And she goes, that's a great intro. That's a great prologue. I'm like, prologue? You want me? That was chapter 1. He goes, no, that's just an intro. I'm like, oh, geez, maybe I bit a little bit more often than I can chew. But it was the beginning. And with the more people that I talked to, the more I learned. And I then had the privilege of talking to friends and coworkers who were also laid off. And they allowed me, and I will always be thankful for their trust that, that was given to me, follow them in their job search journey. And it's amazing. And if anything, it just goes to show that you're not alone and that many people are going through this. And they were very open to as to what worked for them, what did not work, and how to find your joy during the process.
I think it's interesting that your husband, I think a lot of husbands or a lot of partners out there want to fix, they want to be
Yes.
fixers,
Hello.
but he's at a different level because he's an engineer.
Absolutely. He's an engineer. And my dad was an engineer, so I was kind of used to it. But yeah, there have been many times where it's just like, dude, just listen to me. I'm not looking for an answer. Just listen to me. But I know in every fiber of his engineering body, he just wants to fix it. And you know what? He's never steered me wrong. And when he said, stop what you're doing, this isn't helping you. You have not garnered any traction in your job search journey. No. And it's like, well, he's right, because one callback, out of X amount of resumes that was sent out, at this point, I was willing to try anything. And if he said, give that a break, focus on reconnecting with your contacts, that's what I did. Literally the next day.
So do you think the reason things aren't, they are the old way, the old approach of sending your resume off and writing the cover letter, making it personalized, all that normal process that we're used to doing in the job world, do you think it's not working because of the bots, like he said, or do you think it's just the need is different now?
I think it's both, Kendra. And taking a quick step into the HR world, and I'm just going to preface this by saying I'm not an HR manager. I did not study HR, but I spoke to several HR people who are in the thick of it. HR people right now are overwhelmed. They're overwhelmed because there are bots out there. So there's bots all over the place. And we're stuck in the middle. So you have people using bots to apply to any and every job. And talking to HR managers, they're saying they're getting applications from candidates that have nothing to do with the job that's posted. Not one of the listed skill sets are on that cover letter or resume. They're just, shotgunning it and spraying it to whoever is accepting resumes. So that's one thing to take into consideration. And then you have ATS. So that is a system which is basically AI. It is a system that a lot of HR professionals, and it's actually used in most of Fortune 500 corporations. A lot of businesses are using it. And I think the intention of ATS was good, where it was implemented to make HR professionals more efficient and their time more effective. because they're able to put in certain keywords, certain things that they're looking for so that it can comb through all the applications. And at the end of the day, go to the HR person. And this is figuratively, of course. Here's a list of the applicants that you should reach out to. These are the people that fit into all the different boxes that you want to check off. These are the people that you should call on Monday and then start your interviewing. And that has taken, so on the, at first glance, that sounds really good, right? Here's this program, gonna make my job easier. And I'm gonna be able to do more things because this end of it is a lot faster. But because of it, so many good candidates are being passed on because the ATS is not picking up on basically the right people. Because people are that are now in the job market. And these are, and I'm talking people who have been at their other jobs, especially for federal workers who've been there 10, 15, 20, even 30 years. They have not been in the job market for the last time. So the fact that they even have to redo the resume and now you have to contend with ATS, they have to learn, okay, what are keywords? Like, what are the keywords I need to put into this? Am I checking the right box when the application is asking for voluntary information? I mean, it's all based on what the HR person is asking ATS to look for. And you can't read each other's minds. Maybe the HR person wants you to check off that voluntary information box. Maybe there are others that do not. Maybe you didn't have the right keywords on your cover letter. So the fact that I call it the black hole, the resume black hole, seriously, because you're sending all this information that you and I have spent hours putting together just for a quick bot to go "Doot, doot, doot, doot." Next. You don't qualify. And in other words, that human in the loop, which is a term used in AI, meaning having a person, warm body like you and me, overseeing the decisions of AI. And they can say, you know what, you skipped over Sally, but looking over Sally's resume, she's actually a really good candidate and we need to give her a call. That's not happening. So you have a system that is using different criteria to find applicants that it thinks may be right, paired with HR managers that are inundated with the number of applicants, plus a limited number of jobs. So you notice I'm going from different directions. A limited number of jobs, whether it is due to, again, what's happening federally, especially with federal employees, but keep in mind that ripples out into the nonprofit sectors, into the private sectors as well, even healthcare. So you have that, you have economic volatility. For example, acquisitions and mergers, that's still happening. That's not going to end anytime
Mm-hmm.
soon. And now you have
Right.
AI and it's all these things are happening. So not as many jobs. You have bots on this end of ATS. You got bots on the other end sending thousands of resumes to HR people that
Yeah.
don't have the bandwidth to even go through. And we're literally, so imagine a Venn diagram. We're right smack in the middle.
Mm.
And in talking to people, they're like, oh yeah, we had, I know this may sound anecdotal, but ask anyone in HR. You will not be surprised when they say, we had a data analyst position. Jeff told me this instance, this example. They had a data analyst position. So it's like maybe entry, maybe mid-level position for the job
Mm-hmm.
that he works at. They had to pull it down after a few hours because they had received over 500 applications.
And
So
that's
they almost,
humans applying.
yes. And then
Yeah.
you're thinking to yourself, "Well, that's
Mm.
500. I'm
Mm-hmm.
501.
Mm-hmm.
What do I do to stand out among 500 other applications?" And that's literally
Yeah.
where we're finding ourselves now. And with my own journey and keeping in contact with the people that I profile, it's like you need to connect with a person. If there
Yeah.
is a company that you really want to look into, set up an informational interviews. Guess what? Those things are back. If you want to learn more about their culture, want to learn about their mission, and if you're a fit, set up an informal introductory interview. But you have to have someone on the inside, and that will
Mm.
really help. It will really improve your chances. But the way that I know that I was doing it, which was I did my 2 hours of my resume and my cover letter. Oh, and they want me to do this extra exercise as well. Another 2 hours. Here we go. I don't even know if a person even saw that.
Mm.
If I didn't
Wow.
make it through that, the gatekeeper, the ATS gatekeeper, maybe I didn't even make it that far. So that is literally
Yeah.
the situation where we're finding ourselves in right now.
So it's not necessarily who you know, but you need to think about who you can connect with. You need to
I
connect
think
with
it's everything.
humans.
Absolutely. I mean, it could be a connection of a connection. It can be someone that you know. If you are really excited about a position that, appeared to you and you want to apply, go
Mhm.
on LinkedIn, for example, and see if there's someone that you can connect with saying, "Hi, my name is Cynthia. I saw this position for X, Y, and Z. I see that you work there as well. I just want to introduce
Mhm.
myself. I want to let you know that I apply." Anything that can humanize your resume, humanize you as a candidate with another person on the inside, do it. That will improve your chances because right now, the numbers that are being shown are incredible from the numbers of applications being submitted to the number of applications that HR people are having to go through. It's just overwhelming.
We talk often on the show about going slow to go fast, but how do you actually implement that pause when your schedule is already packed? If you're craving a daily routine that includes meaningful meditation and reflection, but you just can't seem to make it stick, I have something for you. It's my step by step program, the 3-step Calm Stack. It's a course that helps you design a practical, personalized routine that truly works. And here's the best part, it's an investment in your peace that won't break the bank. It's the cost of a new outfit, and trust me, the mental space it clears is far more valuable than anything hanging in your closet. Start building your Calm Stack today at www.coachingwithkendrachapman.com. So knowing that is a change of landscape
Yes.
in recent, say in the last few months, maybe the last year. I mean, like the way you have your book set up, you have tips and tricks and exercises for the
Mhm.
reader to go through and kind of get an idea, get a game plan together to
Yeah.
reflect
Yeah.
and then act. Can you talk
Yeah.
through a little bit about why you set your book up that way?
So the reflections that I added to the book is to give the reader opportunities to reevaluate where they are, where they want to be in today's landscape. And these reflections weren't something that I said, you know what, this would be pretty good to add to the book because these are reflections that I did myself. Like, for example, the reflection after the first chapter, which basically brings the reader along for the ride of when I was laid off. And the first reflection is, okay, you need to have a very clear understanding as to what your budget is and what it will be. And that is something that Jeff and I did shortly, I think the same day or the next day that I was laid off, is we literally sat down and, I called Isabella on the phone. She's in college. Okay, this is what's going on. She goes, and she asked me, what do I need to do? I'm like, nothing for right now, but I just need for you to know. My son, who's 12, we brought him into the conversation as well so that he has an understanding of what's happening so that he's a part of the team. So he understands, okay, so instead of eating out maybe 3 times a week, we're going to eat out maybe once. And which means I can tell mommy what I want for dinner and we can cook it together. So it's again, it's bringing them along, helping them feel a little bit more empowered to make the situation better, less stressful. It's already very stressful. So these reflections, these prompts are to help you reevaluate, ask yourselves questions as to where you are now and where you want to be. And I know they have helped me. There are reflections such as, do you carve out X amount of time per day to focus on your job search? And with that, do you carve out time out of your day to do something that just you, enjoy doing, whether it's reading a book, gardening, going outside, walking the dog, throwing the football with your son after school for half an hour. So it's challenging you to do things to find more of a balance. There's no perfect balance. And I'm not even going to go there, but some form of balance to remind you that you are more than your job search. You are more than the title that is no longer on your resume or on your business card. You're more than that. You're a father, you're a mother, you're a sister, you are a friend, you are a cousin, you are a friend, you're a neighbor. You're so much more than your job. And these reflections help you remind you of that, but also
Mhm.
hopefully give you some tips with your job search so that you can find something that's a good fit for you.
Yeah, and I think it's a message that is so helpful for anybody who's either just experienced job loss or is thinking about switching. It's like a cautionary tale to understand that if you do choose to change your job situation, it might take a little bit longer to find that job. It might not be that you're able to go from one to the next. You may have a transition and wait time.
This is an opportunity to remind yourself that it's not necessarily a career ladder. I use the visual of it's a career lattice. So it can go up and down or whatever. It doesn't necessarily always need to go up. If you want to take a step back to spend more time with your family,
Hmm.
a moment in time where you can take on more challenges and do more things that require more of your time, maybe it's time to move up.
Hmm.
To your point, these reflections will help you decide, okay, maybe I should take a part-time job. We even talk a little bit about gig economy, how a lot of the corporations are now hiring contractors and things like that, more of a gig type of scenario. Maybe look into a gig economy type of position while
Hmm.
you for your next full-time job.
Hmm.
That those are the conversations you and your partner or your spouse should be having when you talk about the budget exercise. So again, these are just prompts to help you have
Hmm.
important and crucial conversations to help you along this journey.
Yeah, and it's helpful to think about, it's time to circle the wagons, include everybody that you need to in your circle just to make sure everybody knows what's going on so it's not a secret and we're going to manage it. And I think that was a very healthy way to go about that process. So, the kids know what's going on and everybody else in your family is on a need to know basis based on what,
Right.
you want to
Absolutely.
share. Hmm.
That came
Yeah.
to me because of my experience. So I used to work at a pediatric hospital for about 8 years. And I had the privilege of working closely with the department or a field, a job, a discipline called child life. And
Hmm.
these young women and men, and you get degrees in college for child life, their job is to make hospital life a little bit more manageable for young children. It makes the transition from home school life to hospital life a little bit smoother. And one way of doing that is empowering the child, giving them information in a very age appropriate way so they have some feeling of control over in a world that it seems like everything is out of control. So I took that with me even years after, I parted ways from Miami Children's Hospital. And in terms of you can get them involved and help them feel empowered and have a feeling of control that they're contributing in the solution of whatever problem it may be. So for us in our family, I've always had the children involved in the different things that life throws our way. And that way they hopefully teaches them to be resilient too in their own lives later on. It's like people are amazing. Oh my gosh, amazing. Like there's a child life specialist for orthopedics. There's a child life person just for oncology. And these people are well versed in the field that they cover, whether it's surgery, orthopedics, oncology, nephrology, whatever. I mean, they have the dolls with the ports. I mean, and the way they explain things to children, it makes the hospital a little less scary for a child. And I always kept that. It's like, this is so incredible. So I use a lot of their principles in raising my children. And oh yeah, whenever there were tough times or now I find myself in between jobs. It's, explaining in a way like, okay, we're all a team. Okay, that trip that we were thinking about doing in Europe, nope, we're going to stay home this summer. And they were cool with it. They were cool with it
Hmm.
because they know it's the means to an end.
And I really want to encourage everybody out there listening and viewing to consider getting a copy of Cynthia's book because it is very helpful if you know somebody going through job loss or, it might happen to you. If it's not right now, it might be coming up soon. And so it's a great resource. But I also just want to touch in a little bit, lean in and unpack that I resonate with your thinking around how we identify so much with what we do for a living. And I've experienced that too, being a school principal for 10 years, in and out of my experience in education for almost 30. That's what I saw myself as. And
Mhm.
as that's changed, I've had to kind of rethink how I see myself. And I think you've explained it so beautifully in your book about how you went to Miami and you were doing one thing and then you went to another part of the country to do another thing. And all along the way, you have taken what you've learned from those experiences and added it and leveled up to the next.
Yeah.
And I think if nothing else, I think that you were meant to write this book because there's so many people that need to hear it. And it's just fascinating to know that we've been there at the same time, kind of mindset wise. And now we're going to do something different and it's okay because I think it's meant to be.
Yeah, and I want to encourage the people listening to this to take a moment and look back at your own experience. Maybe you haven't written a book, that's okay. Not everyone does. I mean, this is new to me too. But I encourage you to look back at all the things that you've learned and all the places that you've been, all the different companies, nonprofit, for profit, healthcare, what have you, and really take a moment and think about the things you've accomplished, the new skills that you have, because right now you are the accumulation of all those things, of all the years that you have worked in crafting and creating your career. And it's because it's something that we invest so much of ourselves in. It is very to have your job, your career be such a big part of your identity. So if you find yourself in between jobs, like the way, that I am right now, is hey, that's okay because, studies have shown that you're going to lose your job or be out of a job at one point in your career within your lifetime. I mean, it's just going to happen. But it just gives you the reminder that we are more than that and that you're still in control of your who you are and what you want to be. So this is a great opportunity for you to think about what is it that drives you? What are you passionate about? What is it that gives you joy? And hopefully with the prompts throughout the book, it will help guide you to your next step. Maybe it isn't that next high powered job. Maybe it's to start that nonprofit that you've been thinking about for years. Maybe your passion was helping, I don't know, homeless animals. Maybe it's volunteering and becoming a part of the board of the ASPCA or something like that. This is the opportunity for you to give yourself a little mental space and also physical space for you to reevaluate what your values are and what you want next. And hopefully with this book, it can be your companion in helping you for that next step.
And I like how you say companion because it really is. It does walk you through the highs and lows of going
Mm.
through that process of losing a job and reinventing yourself.
It is. And I have to tell you, and I've noticed this during times of disasters, I'm taking a step back. I worked for the American Red Cross for 8 years and volunteered for an additional 2 while I worked at Johns Hopkins. And it is amazing to see how resilient people are, even during the most challenging of times. When you're looking at people who have lost everything or people that they don't know where they're going to go next because their house has been completely destroyed by a hurricane or earthquake, wildfire, take your pick. And I've had the opportunity to visit many of the shelters where people go to for a hot meal and a bed and a roof over their heads while they figure out their next step. And it's always incredible for me to see people who have lost everything, and they still roll up their sleeves, especially in the shelter, saying, how can I help? You need the food to be passed out. Can I do that for you? I noticed the bathroom is out of toilet paper. Do you want me to get the toilet paper and do it for you? I'm a school teacher and I noticed there's a little group of kids over there. Do you mind if we have story time and I have some things in my car that maybe I can share, some time with the children. It is amazing that even during difficult times, people can roll up their sleeves, think outside themselves and help other people. So one challenge that I had in the book is how can you help others? So right now you may be thinking, oh, I don't have much to offer. I don't believe that. Sarah, can you give of your time to reach out to someone who you haven't spoken to in a long time? Reconnect with people. Do you know of someone who also lost their jobs? Meet up for coffee. You don't have to have a nice, sit down lunch, especially if money's an issue. I get it. Just meet for coffee. Offer to review someone's resume, someone's cover letter. Does your friend have an interview coming up? Great. Do some role playing. Practice your interviewing skills. You will see that even when you think you're stuck, you have nothing more to give, I'm going to challenge you and say, yes, you do. And when you give of yourself, trust me, it comes right back to you. It's truly what goes around comes around. And you will feel fulfilled. And I think that's going to help you with your job search as well.
Yeah, that is a great message. And I think another thread that I just want to highlight one more, just put a finer point on it. It sounds like it's the human connection that's going to get us to that next level to open that door. And we do know how to do that. We just have to come back to that.
Yeah, we need to remind ourselves that We're all human. We're all going through the human experience.
Mhm.
We're all in the same boat. And how can we help each other along? At the end of the day, this is a book of resilience, that this is not your last chapter. You are in control of your next chapter, and hopefully it's the best one yet.
So, Redefine is the title of the book.
It is. Actually, it's a little bit longer, and I actually still have to
Yeah.
write it down because it's so long. It's Redefine Finding Purpose and Power After Job Loss Amid AI Disruption and Market Uncertainty, which literally describes
Yes,
2026.
it could be. Yeah. And I feel like you're going to forecast the next few, unfortunately, the next few years of what we're all going to be facing.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I really hope this empowers you to take a step forward in reconnecting with people, being a connection for other people, making introductions, meeting people for coffee, just listening. Sometimes people just want someone to listen to, someone to talk to, offer to, I don't know, volunteer at your local nonprofit. Reevaluate again. What are your values? What motivates you? What's your purpose? And go for that. Life is too short.
Hmm.
Do something you enjoy.
Absolutely. And so I know that pre-sales are very important for authors these days. Is there any information that we can make sure we include in the show notes that you want to share now about how people
Oh,
can start pre-order maybe?
so this is coming out around Thanksgiving time, you say? It'll be
Okay.
already out. It'll be already out. We're looking at the 11th of November. Oh,
Okay.
so it will be out.
Okay. All right.
I
So
know.
by the time this episode airs,
Yeah,
you should be able to find the book. And are you going to be selling on Amazon and all
I
other
know.
places?
As well as Kindle. And I want to say later on, I think in barnesandnoble.com as well.
Hmm.
This has been an incredible journey, and I thank you and to all your listeners and letting me be a part of it. And again, I know it's very unnerving to be in the middle of an uncertain time,
Hmm.
but I think, being true to yourself, giving yourself grace, reminding yourself that you do deserve joy in your life. You may be on to your next big adventure.
That's very inspiring. Yeah. Don't give up. Even when that resume process is a daunting task, just
No,
keep persevering because it will happen for you.
go connect with a human being. Go connect with
Yes, yes.
way.
Oh, so
Really.
any
That
final thoughts?
that At the end of the day, it's purpose and adaptability. Things are moving so quickly in today's job market. And also, you have other huge factors such as AI. We're talking about machine learning and GBTs now agentic AI. Everything is literally going in, what is called breaking speed. How it goes.
Mhm.
You'll be doing yourself a favor to remain open minded and adaptable. That's really
Mhm.
going to help with your own set of skills in the job market. You have to be open to it, especially with AI, because it's not going anywhere. It's here. It's here
Mm,
to stay. And this is its infancy, for lack of better terms. This right now is its infancy.
mm,
So if you want to be ahead of it, ask yourself the questions of how do I see AI impacting my field? And what are
mhm,
the skill sets that I need to be working on now to be a part of that, to remain relevant in my job? Especially if you love your job and you want to be in it for a while. That's what I'd be doing right now.
all right. So we gotta figure out how to embrace AI and be a collaborator.
Yes. And even in job, like for example, medicine, my daughter is wanting to go into medicine, and medicine isn't going anywhere as to how it's practiced. We may see some changes. We already seeing
Mm,
changes. It's helping with diagnostics, it's helping with surgeries. So it's having the skill sets of practicing medicine, understanding medicine, giving the care to your human patients,
right.
but working hand in hand with AI for those better diagnostics, the better, maybe more accurate surgery with better results. So,
Mhm,
so even in fields where you have to have a very high human connection, there will still be some AI infiltration. So it's
mhm.
being open minded and working with it.
Okay.
And you'll be
So
a
how
mess.
can have to figure out how we can use it to enhance our process instead of seeing it as a challenger. I just appreciate you being here and agreeing to spend some time with us to unpack your new book.
At the end of the day, I mean, much to the chagrin of the publisher and my husband, I would give this book out for free. I would really love to have it in as many hands as possible as
Mm.
again, as a friend, as a companion to help you and help you guide yourself, to your next point
Mhm.
with confidence and with purpose.
But it's coming out just in time for the holidays, so it'll be a great gift to anybody that you want to share that with in your family or your, immediate circle.
Thank you so much, Kendra. This was an incredible conversation. Hopefully it
Yeah.
resonates with a lot of your listeners, and it was wonderful. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for being here. What a gift it was to pause, reflect, and regroup with Cynthia today. For anyone struggling with job loss or career uncertainty, I hope you found as much inspiration and actionable guidance in her journey as I did. The biggest takeaway for me is job loss doesn't mean life loss. It's the moment you must double down on your human connection, tap into community support, and reevaluate your personal values to truly redefine your next move. Your job doesn't define you. Her book, Redefine, is a must-read resource for anyone navigating this chapter in life. You can find links to Cynthia's book, her website, and all the places that you can connect with her, as well as those key takeaways on adaptability and resilience in the show notes for this episode. If this conversation resonated with you, I hope that you'll consider sharing it with somebody you know who needs a little clarity and reassurance right now. And make sure to subscribe to the Go Slow to Go Fast Lifestyle Podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to this podcast. And until next week, please know the light in me honors the light in you. And as you head into the rest of your week, let your light shine through. Go slow to go fast, and thanks for listening.